So let me guess, you're ambitious, you got big dreams, you want to be successful, and ultimately you want to live the life you always imagined. But there's a problem. You're lazy. The biggest gap in our lives isn't lack of ambition. It's high cognitive friction. Most people believe they are lazy. You have these massive dreams. You know the exact steps to take, yet you find yourself paralyzed. This leads to a cycle of guilt that eventually hardens into an identity. You start to believe that lazy is just who you are. But if we look at this objectively, this is not character flaw. This is just physics. It's inertia. Newton's first law states that an object at rest stays at rest unless acted upon by an external force. This applies to your productivity just as much as it does to a physical object. The problem is that we make the initial push far too heavy. When you tell yourself you need to write a 5,000-word essay or launch a business, your brain perceives that as a massive, immovable object. Your brain says no. To avoid the stress of that weight, you retreat into cheap dopamine, scrolling, distraction, and avoidance. And I know what you're thinking right now. What's the solution? Let me introduce you to the strategy. Lower the friction. To break inertia, you don't need more willpower. You need to lower the activation energy. Reduce the stakes. Instead of focusing on the 5,000 words, commit to 50 words. 50 words is psychologically safe. Now, if your brain thinks it's only 50 words, you're like, yeah, 50 words, I can do that. It doesn't trigger your brain defense mechanism. So now, to be very concrete, you need to make sure you apply these rules, the 2-minute rules. If you're resisting a task, commit to doing it for only 120 seconds. Tell yourself you have permission to stop once the timer hits 0. And this is the final straw, the logic of momentum. The secret is that objects in motion tend to stay in motion. Once you written those 50 words, or you clean for 2 minutes, you already crossed the threshold of inertia. You're no longer starting, you're continuing. And continuing is significantly easier than starting. So here's the bottom line. Stop trying to move the whole mountain at once. It cannot be done. Your only job is to break the initial friction. Once you get that ball rolling, the momentum of downhill phase will do the heavy lifting just for you. So focus on the first step, just 2 minutes, and the rest will follow. Stay classy.